Well, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. And you can see me, so that's
Absolutely.
perfect. Yeah. So, hello, everyone, and welcome here. And I'm also really glad to be here. And I would kindly ask my co-panelists to turn on their cameras and join the stage. Almerindo, Georgios, Ionis, and well, Fabio, you should have not switched it off. Yep, Fabio is already coming. So meanwhile, my panelists are getting through their technical challenges. This panel is about the Cyber Range Focus Group, and actually we gave it a little bit of spin. For those who don't know what the Cyber Range Focus Group is, this is the focus group established by the 4 pilots focusing on cyber ranges and everything that is related to the cyber ranges. And as there have been already many presentations on achievements and deliverables and future plans of the pilot, and the Cyber Range Focus Group is quite a fresh focus group without any concrete deliverables yet. We decided to give it a little bit of different spin than the presentations before. So I invited 4 well-known, reputable professionals who are not involved in pilots, but they are heavily involved in cyber ranges, in education, in competence building. So this discussion will be an interactive session. We have some questions prepared, we have the topic prepared, but hopefully it will be more on just sharing the thought on the current state and the future state of the cyber ranges. So quick introduction for those who don't know who is who. Almerindo, I start with the way I see. I don't know if everybody has the same order on the screen as I do. So I start with Almerindo Graziano. He's the CEO of SinusSec, which is an SME offering cyber range, cloud-based cyber range solutions. Al has a very solid background when it comes to competence building and delivering training. And well, he is very, very enthusiastic about cyber range technical capabilities. Then we have Georgios Ataya, who is a professor. He's the founder and academic director of the IT and Information Security Management Education at Solvay Executive Education. And well, he's the founder and vice president of the Belgian Cybersecurity Coalition also, and managing his own firm, Ataya and Partners, which is an advisory firm. And due to his past, he experienced in all 3 domains of education, research, and the private sector. Then we have Ionis, who is a cybersecurity policy officer at DG Connect since 2018. And before that, he has been a senior researcher at ForceCert, and he's heavily involved in 5G and IoT security topics due to his researches. And well, ever since the last couple of years, he has been closely monitoring the cyber ranges and cyber exercises on EU level. And I guess you all know Fabio from ENISA. And just a short introduction for newcomers. He is currently working at ENISA, advising the European Union and the member states on research needs in cybersecurity with a capability and capacity building focus. And myself, I'm Csaba Virag. I'm the head of capacity building at Gartime, Estonia. We are a capacity and capability building focused organization delivering high scale cyber access and cyber range related services. I'm also the coordinator for the cyber range focus group. So that's for the introductions. And I would like to start with a very easy and profound question. And I would like to target it at Almerindo. And the question is simple. What is a cyber range? So is there a EU definition already established? How could we introduce cyber ranges?
Let me unmute my microphone first. Can you hear me?
Yes, all sound and clear.
Okay, so for those who haven't done so, this is an opportunity to publicize a little bit more the work that we have done at EXO, where for the last 2 years I've also co-chaired the sub-working group on cyber ranges. And early this year, I think it was February or March, we published a very long paper, hopefully very exhaustive, where we also try to give a definition of what a cyber range is. Because until now, until then even, cyber ranges were identified primarily as a simulation technology. So when people were talking about cyber ranges, we're thinking about simulation environment, something to simulate a ICT or OT or attacks. What we have defined at the European level at EXO, and really seen that this concept been also embraced outside Europe, is to look at cyber ranges as a platform that includes not only the simulation part, but all the functionality and the components that allow a cyber range to deliver its different use cases. Let me clarify. Traditionally, a cyber range is a simulation environment. Okay, so you want to simulate a network or an organization or OT environment, but then you can use it for capacity building, for cyber resilience, for competence, for a number of things. And depending on what you need to use the range for, you would need some authoring tools, assessment tools, and so on and so forth. Which basically meant that it will be very difficult depending on the use case. Today we are looking at the cyber range as a ecosystem, layers of both simulation and functionalities which deliver the end use cases. So including authoring tools, simulation tools, assessments, scoring, and this is more in line with what we are also seeing around the world in terms of what the cyber range is.
Thank you. And this brings me to our second question. I would ask it from Fabio. So how do you consider cyber ranges on an EU level? What is the current state from an ENISA point of view, and what might be the bottlenecks? Why it's not widespread, or is it widespread enough? What would be your thoughts on this?
I think ENISA doesn't have a common position on cyber range, but we definitely think that cyber range has a lot of importance in capacity building. As Amarildo say, is very important also for critical infrastructure to test resilience. So there is, obviously in education is more used to train people as well. So there is obviously a lot of opportunity to increase the capability of the cyber ranges. Obviously, each cyber range is different depending on how you use. Obviously, if you need to use it for a critical infrastructure for resilience, you have to be able to simulate or emulate sometimes the critical infrastructure, which can be quite have complex systems. So it can be very difficult and very tedious. But this is, since security is done by process, people, and technology, you should be able with the cyber ranges to cover all these three areas, which is very difficult because the human approach is very difficult to predict, although you can have a SOP to facilitate this. And so in this way, the exercise that ENISA organized, like Cyber Europe, are in this way a way to also to complement the cyber ranges, which is more on the technical capability of the people.
Thank you. You mentioned training and education and capacity building several times. And there are a lot of efforts, or quite a serious amount of efforts, let's put it that way, in bridging the gap in between understanding what needs to be trained, what needs to be assessed, or how to use cyber ranges and exercises in order to assess certain competencies, certain procedures, or the efficiency of policies, like an incident response plan or something like that. On the other hand, what we see, or what I experience, and of course this is something that can be debated, but based on my experiences, cyber ranges are not that widespread when it comes to education. And I'm wondering, Georgios, do you have an insight on this, why cyber ranges are not that widespread yet, and what challenges academia might be facing in integrating, or are they widespread?
No, they are not widespread at all, actually, Sabak. The issue is that we have been lecturing for the last 20 years in relation to risk, implementing controls, and information security, and for the last 4 years, cybersecurity. And we deliver a lot of technical, practical information, and we have adequate speakers sharing their information. But at the end of the day, they do not have any practical experience. So most of the time, our participants go and attend the education that is typically delivered by boutique or by major players that unfortunately are outside Europe, which means that they have access to laboratories, they have access to cyber ranges that allow them to get hands-on experience, whether it is going through a certain script or trying to invent and identify and find their way out. We also organize within the Cybersecurity Coalition in Belgium, various exercises, find the flag, and all those kind of practical exercises, but none of all those takes you by the hand and brings to you those different domains of knowledge that are needed. I refer to the previous presentation on education by Fabio and all the skills that are required. Do we take the time to identify those different skills that are required, and seeing how can a cyber range present those different challenges in order for us to practice those different skills. So this is what I mean is missing today. I've also been active. I put my hat, my consultant hat, where my team have been active with various organizations preparing for the NIST directive and running real cybersecurity crisis exercises. And there you are just in the middle of everything, just in the middle of a real life exercise, but nobody is prepared to that. Nobody knows what is to be done. So it is the other extreme, where you are in a real life situation, but you don't have any structure, any scenario, or any knowledge that you should possess or you should adequately have been trained for. So this is the whole spectrum that I notice in that domain.
Thank you. So Ioannis, the way I see it, the EU is spending quite serious amount of money on developing range and exercise-related capabilities, building blocks, digital libraries, federated cyber ranges, not to as what we are doing in ECHO, for example, but there have been several other projects, Horizon projects. There are some non-Horizon but still EU level projects related to cyber ranges. What are your experiences with the efficiency of these projects and the exploitation on the project side, and what would be your expectations, and what the Commission would like to see in the near future, and how can we get there? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the invitation to be here with all of you. Indeed, the Commission over the years has funded a series of projects through various calls, not only the purely cybersecurity calls, where cyber ranges have been and are being developed. And we even have dedicated cases like cyber ranges for 5G, for IoT, for industrial control and automation systems. Technologies that are being funded through various types of instruments, not only from Horizon 2020, but even from Connecting European Facility programs. And based on that and this rich portfolio of technologies that are being developed across the EU, the idea for the future is to further enhance and support this domain. And this is very well aligned also with the Cybersecurity Competence Center that we had also yesterday the announcement of its seat in Bucharest. And the Competence Center will be bringing together, as you very well know, both, let's say, the research innovation angle of Horizon Europe, but also the deployment angle used to be in Connecting European Facility with the new program, the Digital Euro program, where a particular ticket is expected to be on cyber ranges. Actually, we have a thematic priority there, and you can keep this information. It is about preparedness, risk preparedness and response. And under that, several activities will be funded, and cyber ranges and cyber threat intelligence being, let's say, the most important domains. Of course, this relates also with our policies, and this is what we want to do across the EU. I can bring here in this discussion, for example, our policy, our Commission recommendation of 2017 of blueprint on a coordinated response to large-scale incident and crisis. And this is, let's say, what I mentioned as a thematic priority is the implementation angle of this policy, where we want to bring together and achieve joint preparedness, shared situational awareness, and coordinated response in case of an incident. These are let's say, three key objectives. And we do believe that cyber ranges can contribute in all of them, of course, with different impact. But still, this is very important. And the idea is to bring all member states together. So we have the member state angle and the EU institution angle. And then we have different layers, like the technical layer, where we have the CSEF network and all the technical teams that are working, the operational level, where on the member state side of the Cyber Crisis Liaison Organization network, recently established. And on the EU body side, we have ENISA, Europol, CERT-EU. So we have a lot of entities that in the end we need to bring together and develop structured cooperation. And definitely this type of technologies for us are very important in order to achieve these goals.
Thank you. Here's another question from Jacob from Concordia. Actually, we had a small email exchange as Concordia disseminated their open source cyber range solution, which is basically a technical solution that those who know how to install a cyber range and how to operate a cyber range, they can basically access it, and they can operate their own cyber range, and hopefully there will be digital libraries available and contents can be developed to this open source solution, which is a great achievement, I think. And on the EU level, I'm not aware that there has been open source cyber ranges before. So based on this question, and this is what Jakub is asking us, that do you think, and this is a question to you, Ioannis, at this stage, that do you think that an open source solution and sharing of content can make cyber ranges more accessible, and especially for academia? Answer the question. Well, I would phrase it on an EU level. So do you think that one of the key barriers why cyber ranges are not, or the technology is not widespread, is the access to the technology itself, or is it more like the access or the understanding of the concept, what ranges and exercises can bring to an organization?
Yeah, first of all, to start with the question about open access, of course, the Commission always encourages this type of activity, and all or most of our framework programs really address very carefully this aspect. And at the same time, we definitely wish to see this fusion of knowledge between different domains, in particular for academia, let's say on the research side, where new ideas can be born, And this fusion between the developed technology and the people that are working on the edge, let's say, of the technology is very important. Regarding the uptake of cyber ranges, of course, you very well know that there are different, let's say, even products out there in the market with different maturity levels. This also relates to the evolution of the technology itself. We want to see more uptake of these technologies. That's why we will be supporting very strongly this in cyber ranges. And also we would like to see not only different domains, but also across countries, and for us, cross-border cooperation, not only at the operational level, but also at the capacity building level is very essential. So if we reach a state where we will see the exploitation of technologies from different member states and different sectors, this indeed would be in the right direction in order to see this domain evolving at EU level and giving also at the same time both the competitive advantage for the industries that are involved, but also for the end users, including the national cybersecurity authorities and all the incident responders in general.
Thank you. Georgios, when it comes to academia and when it comes to industry, academia collaboration, raising cyber resilience, addressing the competencies and the skills that are required, there are a lot of, not a lot of, sorry, but there are enough competence frameworks out there that can confuse any professional who is just diving into the project or into this domain and trying to find his way around. In my experience, it's really great to understand the individual skill set of someone. But when it comes to incident response, what we are looking at is actually the efficiency of a team collaborating with each other and their combined competence, how to counterfight that crisis situation that they are in. Are there any works on this already that you are aware of, or how do you think that this could be somehow further developed or addressed?
As you mentioned, there are so many education, there is some education that exists in various domains. There are so many credentials that are known. However, I don't have any real source of knowledge or source for specific education related to incident response. I think that everybody refers to the ISO 2735. And when in my executive education, we have series of sessions that goes through that standard, in addition to other education that exists, including something coming from ISACA or from other suppliers or research centers. But I think there is a major need for going one step further, which means beyond the standard that exists. How can we identify the series of skills? I refer back again to Fabio's previous session where we talked about the NIST framework, where the NIST framework addresses a series of domains of skills that are required for the work role that is related to incident response and related work roles. I think it should be quite adequate to create on a European-wide basis the requirement for the credential that would be, and in line with what we have done together at EXO, defining the credentials that are required, the skills that are required from experts in that domain. And I see today that there are few organizations that are expert in delivering advisory in those domains, and we see the consulting business booming in that domain. However, we don't really see a lot of specific education, credentials, and university, as far as I'm aware of, that are structuring that on a Europe-wide level.
Thank you. Fabio, as ANISA is organizing cyber exercise, are you here?
Yes, you have a problem with
okay.
the camera.
No problem. If you can talk, that's great. So, as ANISA is organizing cyber exercises on EU level, and ANISA is organizing various cyber exercises among member states between academia, etc. So, my question regarding this would be that how do you see what we as the pilots or we as cyber range focus group could do to facilitate even more or even bigger or even larger scale or more efficient cyber exercises? Because as of now, these cyber exercises happen annually or biannually, and of course it would be highly welcomed if such large-scale exercises could happen more frequently. Is there anything that the community could do for this?
I believe that you already are doing something to build this concept of cyber ranges, which is new. And obviously, the problem is how to the industry has to take up this opportunity to develop, train the people. As you mentioned, also it's very important capacity building. Is not only the problem of testing the SOP, but it's very important also to build the capability inside the companies. And I also have an opinion. Sometimes in university, in this way, connecting to what George say about that it's difficult that university form people in incident response. This is true because it's very specific topic. There is a need, but this is more for professional people. Usually, typical university will form a student for a variety of jobs, and they have a difficulty to focus only on one subject. So this is from what I see also on the cyber education database. I can see that 99% of the master program are still generic. They cover a variety of subjects, and very few are really specialized, and usually are post-master degree. So this is in some way connect also how cyber ranges is has to be take up from the university side. Yes, it's important, but take a lot of time also for the education to really spend time on a cyber range.
Yeah, Georgios?
I wanted to propose follow up on what the message that I implicitly hear from Fabio. I think it would be worthwhile to put together some universities. I call today some other universities that let us work together on a program that you would propose, and where we could share together our effort and knowledge and create something from scratch. I mean, a generic one that everybody can use and adjust, and we can do that based on all the material that you are building yourself. So I think it would be worthwhile to generalize the use of cyber ranges through kind of starting with a partnership, piloting a common solution, partnering with some European expert in that domain, and starting it somewhere.
Yes, thank you. In the pilot, there are initiatives and effective efforts in this direction that university industry are trying to bridge the gap. But of course, it has to be scaled up and rolled out on an EU level with a curricula that everybody supports or like the majority supports, because it's a challenging issue. Almerindo,
can I add something on subject related to the adoption and the use of cyber ranges in universities and open source cyber ranges? My opinion as a sort of practitioner in the field is that I think the reason why they are not yet widely used, and not just in academia, worldwide in other fields, is that cyber range as a technology product, they have not yet reached a great maturity level to the point where they're even accessible from a pricing perspective and also accessible from a technology perspective. If you think that, for example, even if you gave many universities an open source cyber range, it would require them expertise and stuff in order to install, manage it, and for people to then operate it. That's where we are with the technology today. If you think about university, for example, using VMware or VirtualBox or traditional hypervisor technologies, it's very approachable. Every university, every organization has it. Okay, we are not yet there with up to cyber ranges. For a university or for even an organization to own such technology, there are entry barriers which are related to costs, and there are usability and maturity barriers related to the fact that the products are not mature yet to be, easily usable, easily deployable. It still requires an army of people to manage it. And I think that's the fundamental. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just a maturity issue.
Yes, but if I understand you correctly, we are talking about that as a concept or as a holistic approach. We like in other domains when it comes to cybersecurity, we have the different silos and we have this whole fragmented there is a cyber range. It can simulate something. We can connect cyber ranges. We can simulate even more things. We can do researches. We can release a malware and see what it does inside the network. Then we have the competence building blocks where we say that, okay, let's exercise, I don't know, a ransomware scenario, and then what do you do when a ransomware hits your organization? Or we can, do a 5-day long exercise where a lot of things can happen and teams can be assessed properly. But all these building blocks, so from the very first stage, that why I want to have an exercise, how am I going to use that cyber range? What further steps? How can I incorporate it into my educational curricula or in my educational toolkit? Let's call it that way. Or how a nation state can use as a method of raising national cyber resilience. Do I understand right that this is the issue that is not tackled, the holistic picture?
I think many people understand the holistic picture. Many people understand, at least security professionals understand that it's not just about tool, it's about process, it's about bringing together the tools, the know-how to deliver a solution. And the solution, it's not just a technical platform. What I'm saying is that in order to deliver the holistic solution, all the building blocks are not yet mature. So you can talk about the simulation of ransomware, you can talk about tabletop, you can talk about simulation of processes, and there are pockets of competencies and excellence in each of these fields. Integrate them together in a seamless way, and also in a way that doesn't require an army of people to do it. That's where the problem is. And I think that's the widespread. I think that's the biggest part of the problem, and not to mention that I'll give you an example. Today, if you want to deliver a training course, everybody knows how to use Microsoft Office, and they have Microsoft Office available, so you don't have to teach them. People just know how to do it. But if you want to deliver something beyond a PowerPoint presentation, and you want to include simulation of any kind, there are no standard ways of doing it. There are no standard tools of doing it, and there are very few cheap and accessible tools. And that's where I think the problem is.
All right. As we're closing to our panel's end, I have one question for all of you. So I kindly ask all of you to respond to that. That in your expert area, what features do you miss the most from the current range, cyber range and cyber range related solutions? Let's start with you, Giannis.
Yeah, before answering this question, just to touch a little bit upon on the previous discussion that is very interesting.
Of course.
Just to make clear that on the Commission side, the cyber ranges element is going to be on the TEP part. When we are talking about deployment, about mature technologies that will be deployed and used by end users. So we had this discussion about ENISA and the potential use of cyber ranges in its own exercises. This could be an excellent example in the future projects where even this could be a KPI, how EU institutions or national authorities from member states can use these technologies that will be developed and deployed. Now, talking about what we could miss, as we all understand, there are a lot of opportunities, many things to be done when we are talking about cyber ranges. Perhaps having dedicated cyber ranges in the various technological domains like 5G, IoT, to continue this approach to artificial intelligence. This could be very, very useful, and also federating the various elements could be challenging for the future, but at the same time very useful for the entire community, not only for the developers, but especially for the potential end users.
Thank you for that. Georgios?
I hope I will not surprise you too much, but I think if we start by bringing senior management, decision makers, CIOs, CISOs, non-technical people into making them aware of what is expected from them, I would say business-related cyber range, where we say to them, the technology may follow, our technical people may be hands-on and may improvise a solution, but if you are not aware of what we are talking about, what are the risks, what are the resources that we need to make available, what resources could be available, what risk could that impact the organization, what are the domains that we have to protect, exactly as Ioannis mentioned, are those related in our business to IoT, are those related into breaching into the network, is it more phishing our banking clients? If those people already identify what is the domain of risk in our business for our activity, and that can only go through when we bring to them the knowledge of there are risks, this is what the risk is about, this is how you should start identifying in which direction we should look, and then we will be happy to look to it, and we will be happy obviously to create all those all that machinery behind in order to test the technical knowledge and the methodologies for response management.
Thank you. Fabio? Wait, sorry. Yes, Almarino?
Yes, I want to say something along the line of George's, but my point is sort of across, in the sense that George's raised a very valid point, and when we talk about cyber ranges, is mostly technical, process, sometimes, but what is missing is the integration with the senior management, or with the more integration at process level and with the management side. In other words, how do you bring together the simulation of the technology, simulation of controls, cyber attack simulation with the decision-making process, and how you integrate the two, and how you track and monitor that side of things. That's again, I think something that will come in time, but I think that's what many are, I would say, talking about, but the real thing is different.
Thank you. Fabio?
Yes.
Do you still remember the original question?
Yes.
Or you can refer to anything that has been discussed before, of course.
Yes, I will discuss with the George Amerildo, because I think for critical infrastructure is very key, because cyber range can be very expensive to run. very expensive to create if you have to emulate a particular something that is very particular and you cannot simulate. Maybe you need to emulate, and they can be very expensive to run. So the critical part maybe is to identify what is critical in your system that you want to create a sample range. So that has to come from the senior management, understand which part of the business is more critical. And that is the part that probably you want to invest resources to simulate or emulate in the way to prevent that an attack can disrupt seriously your business. So obviously, is the top-down approach will help you to identify the critical part of your business, and so prevent that a crisis can escalate to complete disruption.
Thank you. And Al, would you like to address the question? So what do you think is missing mainly from the current range solutions, ranges and range-related solutions?
That was my previous comment. So
okay.
What is missing is the integration between the soft skills management and the technical side. So the operational and the more decision-making part. Strategical,
yes, yes. Well, in that case, thank you for your participation and thank you for your sharing your thoughts and insights on the topic. I think that some of the points that we have not yet discussed or touched upon in the Cyber Range Focus Group, we definitely will have to. And actually, I am hoping. Well, Al, you're already in the focus group, so as an EXO representative. But I truly hope that Fabio, Georgios, and Ioannis, I will meet you, and we will meet you in the focus group, and hopefully we can co-create something that is well, that's on the European level and meeting the expectations, and it helps to get cyber ranges and cyber exercises as a meaningful tool and service to be widespread. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. And of course, thanks everyone who managed to make this session happen today, for all the organizers and all the pilots, and well, you, dear audience, whom we cannot see, but we hope that you are there. So thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone from the Cyber Range Focus Group. Thanks, Saba. Very much appreciated. A very interesting discussion.